And good morning. Welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. This one's entitled Coronal Mass Ejection Begins as One Begins. Psychotic Comments. And we're going to talk about a mainstream PHONY. Most of you have probably heard of the mainstream PHONY. We'll get into it. First, here's the sun in 193 angstroms. It's a 48-hour video. Couple coronal holes here. And some active regions rising there in the southeast as well. Sunspot 2770 has diminished a little bit. And I think it'll be reclassified as an alpha class sunspot today, as the trailing umbra look like they've largely evaporated. Here's the data from the GOES magnetometer. We're going to look at the GONG next, the GONG 2 data. There's the GOES magnetometer for the last 3 days. And here's the GONG 2, and you can see the entire heliospheric current sheet, at least the portion that the Earth lies in, is completely North Pole, shown here in green. This has to do with the fact that the North Pole coronal hole is exposed to the Earth right now, and the South Pole coronal hole is largely covered by plasma. Finally figured it out. Here's a line of sight field plot, and you can actually see the coronal hole up there on the North Pole, and you really can't see the southern one, and that's why the magnetism is affecting the current sheet in the way it is. Keep in mind the data is nearly 2 hours old, and the magnetic environment can suddenly change. Now, here's the coronal mass ejection that we've been talking about for the last 2 days. It's already started to eject. You can see some ejecta in this area already coming off. And that's certainly not done yet. So this is going to continue throughout the day. And we'll possibly make another video this afternoon showing telemetry. And Helio viewers got some issues right now. It has to do with the instruments being obscured. Anyway, here is the 171 angstroms view faded to magnetogram. And again, these trailing umbrae back in this area look like they've broken up now. I don't think they're going to be umbrae anymore by the time we're done with the video. Here's the fade to 304 angstroms. And the moon moving in between the Earth and the SDO, I believe, is causing those obscurations. Here's a custom movie. And we don't see a whole lot of changes going on with those fields associated with sunspot 2770, right in the middle of your screen there. Here's a 304 angstroms view of the exact same area. A good up-close view of sunspot 2770, as well as the 2 active regions, former sunspots that are leading it. Here's the 171 angstroms view, my personal favorite. Allow me to get off the screen so you can see the full deal. Has some active regions set. And again, we already have some ejecta leaving the sun. One of the ejecta events look like they've happened right here. But that's for a later video, as it's too early to see most of the ejecta at this point. During this ongoing coronal mass ejection event. And we've got lots more stuff to talk about. Let's move on. 10.7 centimeter radial flux is at 74, so having coming down yesterday from 75, now at 74 solar flux units. And there we go. I can now operate the web page. Yay! Anyway, there is the cycle. Here's a little zoom on in terms of what the last solar minimum has been like. There you go. And the KP index currently at 1. And we see a pretty weak magnetosphere here. We don't see any X-ray flares. No solar flares kicking off of note in the past 24 hours. And no big proton events. We still do have some power outages going on here in Connecticut and New York. About 170,000 customers without power in those states. Next, the real-time solar wind showing us a phi angle around 180 degrees. Could be coronal hole magnetic connections here, orienting the incoming solar protons. Current solar wind density has just kicked up to 6.2 protons per cubic centimeter, and the solar wind speed has just kicked up just as I'm doing show prep. So solar wind speed having just come up over 100 kilometers per second, more like 150, to 468 kilometers a second. So once again, we see big changes in the solar wind here happening as we do the live stream. Basically just luck, folks, or is it divine providence? You be the judge. Next, looking at the geospace magnetosphere movies, and I imagine we'll probably see at the very end a sudden spike and an increase in magnetohydrodynamic pressure. Keep in mind, this is the density, and the white colors are the low density, and the dark colors are the high density, the dark blues. And we don't really see that sudden increase in the solar wind speed and density reflected yet on these data. Here's 4 hours of the pressure. And that's a pretty significant increase there, folks. Going from about 315 kilometers a second up to 468 kilometers a second. Let's just see if it shows any kind of a... Nope, no increase yet shown on the geospace magnetosphere movies. Let's look at ground magnetic perturbations during this magnetic excursion, where fearmongers want to convince you of all sorts of things that aren't true, including their credibility. Anyway, we've got two North Poles right now. If you weren't aware, there's one over northern Siberia and one over northern Canada. And the South Pole has crept into the southern Indian Ocean, somewhere down here off the continent of Antarctica. Anyway, there's 4 hours of magnetic perturbations. And welcome to another edition of the Smash Lights, where we talk about crazy people who've lost their damn minds and all kinds of things. People who will lie to you outright and get paid a lot of money to do it. Let's talk about our mission. You can read all about it if you want to head to smashomash.com/forum/mission, where we've put up this graphic to make it clear what we're about. And while the main goal is to assist, study, and report on an ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics, another purpose is to connect and consult with media organizations to multiply our reach. Now, you may follow us on Facebook, and you may see the insane rantings of certain people on Facebook, perhaps on Twitter also. Let's talk about rockers now. We were able to find an exclusive photograph here of Ben Davidson's rocker, and notice how Ben Davidson is not on his rocker. You may have seen him ranting like a crazy person on Twitter and on Facebook. Apparently he's been, quote, unshadow banned. He's only got 500,000 subscribers, and he probably makes like $20,000 a month just on YouTube ad revenue. But he's very, very much in need of your support so that he can sell millions of textbooks to colleges. Because, by the way, Ben Davidson is mainstream science, and he's off his rocker completely. And he's a fearmonger. So please do not attempt to fearmonger on YouTube, because people are going to debunk you, and you're going to look like an idiot. And you're going to leave comments like an idiot. So, now yesterday, because of his video, and Ben Davidson regularly is incorrect about things that he has great confidence in himself about, he's gotten too many things wrong to mention in yesterday's video. Here's one. The interplanetary magnetic field is the B field, top pane black line in the solar wind data. I meant wind. The BT. The story about helium lines was covered by our channel before Ben's channel, of course. Since we cover basically everything before they do and a lot more, of course nobody watched. But here's my point. Hey, Ben Davidson, your mainstream science. What new ground are you breaking? I don't see any. And if you don't have a silly response to the comment, by the way, he did have a silly response to the comment, we might extend yet another invitation to make collaborative videos. Congrats on your defeat of the shadow ban. He's so shadow banned that he gets tens of thousands of views per day on YouTube. Although, we highly doubt he's unshadow banned. Here's his ridiculous response. Micronova, magnetic reversal, ongoing, climate science, plasma cosmology. All major pillars here are anti-mainstream. Now, I don't know what this exactly means since it makes no sense, like many things that Ben Davidson puts up on social media. Congrats on not sticking to a same time of day schedule that allows you to pot whenever you want. And this story was so low priority that I saved it for the next day and made good use of it to explain the interplanetary magnetic field. Otherwise, it would be a non-story. I want nothing to do with you, since you have been utterly psychotic here. Okay. Well, Ben's accusing me of being utterly psychotic, but Ben Davidson is utterly psychotic everywhere on all social media. Here's an example. Now, I'm not a fan of Professor Dave Explains. Although I'm not anti-Professor Dave Explains, what's hilarious is how completely off the rails Mr. Davidson has become lately. Take it away, Professor Dave.
Hey everyone, so some of you may have seen the video I put out a few days ago debunking the electric universe.
So anyway, plasma cosmology. Anyway, what's happened here is Professor Dave Explains is a YouTube channel with about 900,000 subscribers. Suspicious Observers is a YouTube channel with about 500,000, about 500,000 subscribers, maybe 600,000, I really don't care. And they got into a little feud here. And Professor Dave puts up the email that he sent, and Ben Davidson is completely out of his gourd. He's off his rocker, it's quite clear. And he's leveled threats. So, yeah. Ben Davidson, he's so tightly wrapped that he's got diamonds forming underneath the bandages around his head. Let's talk about Belarus elections. Lukashenko wins the election with 80% of the vote, although they're suggesting the election is fixed. Sorry, Belarus. It looks like your former Soviet dictator is remaining your Soviet dictator. Here's a clip from Deutsche Welle. Don't copyright strike me.
Well, let's go straight to Tikhanovska actually anticipated that Lukashenko would win.
Anyway, Tikhatskoya only received like 8% of the vote or something like that. And Lukashenko apparently, allegedly received 80% of the vote. And it's been a bad several hours since the preliminary results have been released because more people are going to jail, and it's quite a mess over there in the most Soviet of the former Soviet states, Belarus. Allegedly re-electing Lukashenko, Europe's oldest dictator. One of the things that helps to keep us protected from dictators is our patrons. Thanks to our patrons for being the real assistant and associate producers of the content. Please consider becoming a patron, and thanks to our latest patron, or patrons. I think there may be 2 new ones. Thanks, folks. If you haven't checked out Patreon, it's patreon.com/smAsho. Consider funding our operation, as we are broke, tanking, and in great need of more financial support. We're also on Subscribestar. Visit the other links below the video. We are streaming live to Twitch, by the way. So perhaps check us out over there. It's twitch.tv/smAsho. We've been putting out the daily Space Weather videos in this format for a long time. We also are on BitChute to expand our horizons and negate the possibility of our videos all going away if our YouTube channel gets deleted. Here's a little glimpse into what I like to watch on YouTube. Leslie the Bird Nerd. Congrats, Leslie, on the 100,000 plus subscribers. Leslie the Bird Nerd is a great channel. You should check it out. Here's one about the Blue Jay Wasp Slayer. Anyway, she gets great footage of various different birds and she's located, I think, in Minnesota. Perhaps check out Leslie the Bird Nerd if you haven't. Also, when you're locked down by your government, you're forced to wear a mask in your house or in the shower, check out smAshomash.com/forum. We've got all kinds of forums there, thanks to our latest users, etc. Let's talk about cyclists. One of the most interesting cyclists of our time is most certainly Peter Sagan. If you haven't checked it out, petersagan.com is a good site. And he's, I don't know of any other, at least modern cyclist to have won the World Championships 3 years in a row. So Sagan is the proudest wearer that I know of those World Champion stripes. He gets to wear them on his collar and around his sleeves for the rest of his career. So Peter Sagan, one of my favorites, as I came from the world of skateboarding and then eventually martial arts and then eventually bike racing. Didn't happen until I was about 21 years old. And so I'm kind of what you'd call a non-traditional cyclist. A lot of guys start out on the track. I started out on the mountain bike doing cross-country racing. So I've updated this section here. Thanks again, Nabo J, for putting up a Cycling Enthusiasts This Is How We Roll subject thread in the free-for-all forum at smAshomash.com/forum. Put up information about your favorite cyclist. Also, we've got movie recommendations, which is also in the free-for-all forum. And Automata, which is a 2004 film starring Antonio Banderas. It's one of these sort of dystopian future movies about artificial intelligence becoming a life form. And also Wish Upon. Great movie, Wish Upon. Check it out. It's quite demonic. It reminds me of the Friday the 13th, the series, the show about cursed items. It's a great movie. Check it out. Wish Upon. I believe that's on Amazon Prime. And let's talk about, oh no, oh my God, not the scary, spooky COVID. Holy cripes. I'm shaking in my boots. I'm shaking in my boots because the COVID is so freaking scary and spooky. All right. And yeah. So let's talk about it. And oh my God, it's Jeezo cripes. We got a couple of Psychotic daily articles here. There's a decoy receptor which neutralizes SARS-CoV-2 in cell culture. So that's some good news there from Psychotic Daily. And so there's a bunch of new science coming out about this, making it less and less and less scary. The next story makes it even less scary. As a potential therapeutic agent, a decoy receptor has one advantage over other drugs. To evade it, the virus would have to mutate in a way that would make it less infectious. So some great work being done here. We are testing whether the decoy receptor is safe and stable in mice, and if successful, we then hope to show treatment of disease in animals. Hopefully that data can facilitate a clinical trial. He's also exploring how the decoy receptor bonds to other coronaviruses with potential to become future pandemics if they cross from bats to humans. So perhaps have a read on that story, as protein on the surface of the cells is super important. Now let's talk about how research shows exposure to common cold coronaviruses can teach the immune system to recognize SARS-CoV-2. So this is yet another reason to not lock yourself inside and go hide from all other humans. It's too soon to say whether pre-existing immune cell memory affects COVID-19 clinical outcomes. So they might not. It also does affect testing, as some coronavirus tests just test for all coronaviruses. Looking closer, the researchers found that while some cross-reactive T cells targeted the SARS-CoV-2 spike protein, the region of the virus that recognizes and binds to human cells, pre-existing immune memory was also directed to other SARS-CoV-2 proteins. This finding is relevant, SETI explains, since most vaccine candidates target mostly the spike protein. These findings suggest the hypothesis that inclusion of additional SARS-CoV-2 targets might enhance the potential to take advantage of this cross-reactivity and could further enhance vaccine potency. Let's talk about Big Pharma and how its narrative is failing and it's behaving like a wounded beast. First of all, let's talk about the chloroquine. Chloroquine. Have you heard of it? Well, we did a video about it on March 19th, about 4 months ago. And let's talk about the frontline doctors. So, they believe HCQ is an effective treatment for COVID-19. State licensing boards are using their power to forcibly remove people from having access to the drug. There's a coordinated campaign to discredit and suppress information about the drug as a possible treatment. The World Health Organization halted its trials based on a blatantly fraudulent study that relied on data that appears never even existed. We should be able to have a free and open discussion about whatever we want, as after all, this is America. So why the all-out media assault on frontline doctors? Well, it has to do with the mighty dollar, folks. It has to do with selling more expensive alternatives. So, yes, the one doctor has been debunked because she believes demonic sex has something to do with fibrotic tissue or something like that. But that doesn't change anything about the situation when it comes to the SARS-CoV-2. COVID-19, whatever you want to call it. This is not about HCQ. Every time media outlets or social media platforms engage in outright censorship of content in a way that happens to benefit pharmaceutical companies, both parties lose just a little more credibility. The actions we are witnessing now are not the actions of an industry confident in the value of what it provides to the world. They are the actions of a desperate, threatened creature. They are the actions of an entity that is not strengthened by the truth, but weakened by it. You see a pattern developing here? Plasma cosmology. That is what these increasingly obvious act of censorship tell us. We are witnessing the pangs of a lumbering, wounded behemoth. It all has to do with things like ad sales, folks. So believe the truth. If you haven't checked it out, check out americasfrontlinedoctorsummit.com, as they've had to create a new website. Here's a clip from this little video.
At a single incident. This medication is safe. As a doctor, I've been trying to educate myself throughout this pandemic.
Anyway, check it out if you haven't. Also, perhaps follow Dr. Simone Gold if you're not too concerned about sex with demons. She's on Twitter. And if you've got a breaking news story for us, hit me up at the smAsho VOIP line. At the VOIP line. It's country code 1, area code 610-936-9799. That's country code 1, area code 610-936-9799. We are growing our organization. Thanks to Smash staff for continuing to update the site. We've got to have a second Smash store listed here, and I'll give you details about that momentarily. Check out our affiliate. It is linked. If you head to smashamash.org, it'll redirect you here, and you'll click on affiliate, and you can see the latest products. So we've got a pulse oximeter here for you. It's $29.95. It's got batteries. I've been using mine. It's quite interesting. And it's good for biofeedback. It will change your health outlook, perhaps. Also, the L-lysine amino acid, MSM, almond flour, calcium, zinc, and magnesium, shugu, and now, yes, oh yes, Betty Crocker mashed potatoes, yes. Some of the cheaper mashed potatoes you find, these aren't super good for you, but they're good for prepping. So maybe pick up a bunch of boxes of Betty Crocker's mashed potatoes via our affiliate links. Again, it's smashamash.com/affiliate to get to those links. And by the way, if you're using Brave browser, make sure you turn off your shields. Since these are ads, they will not show up if you have shields turned on. Enough said about that. Let's talk about the Teespring storefronts. Now, everybody's seen this one. We've got the Smasher Price My First Pandemic, as well as I Survived a Global Pandemic So Far shirts. We've also got another storefront. This one is teespring.com/stores/smAsho store. So that's the other store that we need to link on the website, Smash staff. Perhaps get that going today. Not real urgent. We'll also put a link. And on this one, you can get the Smash Team shirt. You can get the Google is a scam, not a verb shirt. Always a classic. And that's my original meme, by the way. And the 3C405 shirt. Yes, we put that in a variety of colors also. So for all you regular viewers who wanted the Cygnus A, otherwise known as 3C405, the massive radio galaxy, the second strongest radio source in the sky. Ben Davidson, perhaps pick yourself up one and help support our channel that way. And here ends another episode of the Smash Lights, part of the SmAsho stream, where I talk about whatever the heck I want. Let's get back to space. The relativistic electron flux got a little higher yesterday, as I forecasted. Here's the 3-day chart, and there is the observed values higher than the forecast values, as I stated would happen yesterday. So if you see any other space weather forecasting channels forecasting the electron flux, as I've done repeatedly, please let us know, as we'd be more than interested to see who it is who's able to do that. So we see significant electrons here in the entire air column, which is what we're looking at. Here's a total electron content forecast, and you will see some GPS errors. By the way, I logged one yesterday while riding my bike. Perhaps we'll show you, but needless to say, I was not going over 100 miles per hour on my mountain bike. Next, we'll look at just one layer of the atmosphere. It's the ionosphere layer, and it's looking fairly normal here. I'll tell you what's not looking normal is a 5+ magnitude earthquake striking North Carolina. We'll talk about it momentarily. There's the latest image of the ionosphere at 8:45 Universal Time, and it's looking quite normal. Here's where stuff is in the solar system. There's where things will be in a week, as Mercury is lapping the Earth once again, and Venus is pulling away as we approach another new moon. If you get up before dawn, you should have a great view of perhaps Mars, the Moon, and Venus. Yesterday when we streamed live to YouTube, actually, yesterday's video was a YouTube exclusive, the Moon and Mars were overlapping. So the first quake of note that we'll talk about is this shallow quake. It's a 5.1 magnitude at only a depth of 3.7 kilometers here, right in the Blue Ridge Mountains there, near the Virginia border. Largest quake seen there since 1916. A very rare spot for a quake. Pretty much right on the craton, the North American craton. Not to be confused with a cretin, like people who leave moronic comments on YouTube. Anyway, that one came in at 12:07 Universal Time yesterday. And we see another quake in the central mid-Atlantic ridge, which has become a more normal spot for earthquakes during the solar minimum times. And let's just go up the list here. Here's a deep quake in Russia on the southern Kamchatka Peninsula region. It's a 4.5 magnitude at 120 kilometers depth. Here's an interesting one. And this one came in at 100 meters above sea level, yet it's out in the ocean. How an earthquake occurs over the ocean is anybody's guess. I don't have an answer for you on that one. It's a very shallow quake, and maybe it's a spaceship exhaust. Please make sure you give Mr. MBB333 and Gina Maria Colvin Hill a call so they can report on how it must have been a spaceship. Check out Cinnabung. We got a great image here of Cinnabung, which was dropping lava bombs and doing all kinds of nasty things. So back on the list is Cinnabung first. Nishinoshima still exploding. Flight level 130, 13,000 feet of altitude there for the ash plume. Cinnabung produced a 30,000 foot ash plume, the strongest eruption out of it in a while, producing dark ash, as well as ballistic impacts of volcanic bombs and pyroclastic flows that could affect an area about 3 kilometers distance from the main crater. Ouch! Hopefully everybody escaped that unscathed. Revenador exploding, flight level 150 there. It's producing a 15,000 foot ash plume. And Sabancaya also exploding. Puff emissions are enough to produce a 23,000 foot altitude volcanic cloud. Please don't attempt to fly your ultralight aircraft through said cloud. It could be unhealthful. Here's a weather.gov map. And I'm not going to start trying to figure out what those colors are. Next, windy.com's pressure maps. We show it daily. Windy.com's got a great mobile app. We're letting this advance into tomorrow on the GFS forecast. There's where things will be at 1 p.m. my time tomorrow. And check it out, the Brian Stelter anticyclone is still living large down here off the west coast of South America. The Brian Stelter anticyclone, folks. Named after CNN wannabe journalist Brian Stelter. Next, looking at nullschool.net to see the jet streams here of the Western world. There you have that. All over the place are those jet streams. Check out the extreme monkey business going on here above the Brian Stelter anticyclone. What a mess. And here's the eastern world's jet streams as we get into more weather stuff. And we see portions of the jet stream blowing east to west. A totally backwards phenomenon. Next, checking lightning maps. If you haven't checked it out, blitzortung.org or perhaps lightningmaps.org. And we see a bunch of lightning around southern Minneapolis. If you're in Minneapolis, go outside and look to the south. Unless your building's on fire. If your building's on fire, then just escape from the building. But man, a major lightning storm there. Perhaps you can see sprites if you have a view of that incredible lightning. Again, Minneapolis and St. Paul, there's thunder rolling in. I know by looking at real-time maps on lightningmaps.org. Next, looking at water vapor maps. Water vapor maps for Africa and Europe. Water vapor maps for the Far East and Oceania. Water vapor maps for the Americas. U.S. Doppler radar map. And let's animate that. Some strong storms there over central Kansas as well as over Indiana and southern Lake Michigan. Here's what's going on in the cloud there. We use the NASA GOES shortwave radiation map when we can't see the clouds with the visible satellite. Here's a U.S. water vapor map. And we're going to zoom in on this convergence here over Minnesota, as those storms look like they're stagnating a bit as they are colliding with some dry, massive air. And they're going to get trained there as these storms are going to just continue to just be in this same narrow band as a result of this dry, massive air down here. So be aware of that, people in southern Minnesota. And hey, Smash Team, thanks for being such loyal viewers, as there are only two ways to build a YouTube channel. It's with a lot of fans to begin with, or with loyal viewers. And that's what we're thanking you for on the daily. Pick up your Smash Team shirt. It's teespring.com/stores/smAsho store. That's teespring.com/stores/smAsho store. Get yourself a shirt with that on if you like. It's a little bit differently colored to make it exclusive. And thanks for flying American Smashways. Please keep your head on arms inside the Smash plane at all times, as we've got bonus features. We're going to show you the 304 angstroms 48-hour SDO video. We're going to show you the intensitygram, and we're going to show you the colorized magnetogram. So here's the colorized magnetogram. And we still could see an umbra there. I doubt it. It looks like they've evaporated. We'll show you the intensitygram next. And here's that. And there still is a small umbra back there. This is still beta class in my opinion. Small little dark spot there. And the leading umbra has split into two different cores here. And they are both North Pole polarity. Welcome to Cycle 25. Again, here's a 48-hour video here from the SDO. It's 304 angstroms. And the helium seems to show up associated with mid-latitude magnetic field force lines. Is that because stars are electric? Nope. Is it because stars are made out of plasma fundamentally? Absolutely not. Although there is plasma stuff going on the surface, as well as electrical phenomenon going on at the surface. Sorry, they're made of condensed matter. And that's all she wrote. We're out of here. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, stare at the sun, don't drink, and if you do, don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. May that solar wind be at your back, and that covidiocy and psychosis absent from wherever you are, no matter how off your rocker you might be today.